Breaking news out of the NFL and Raider Nation. This one might shake things up. A potential trade target could be heading to Las Vegas, and it's raising eyebrows across the league. Is the Raiders front office cooking up something big behind the scenes? Cornerback Jamel Dean, a key player from Tampa Bay, has suddenly been linked to the Silver and Black. Could this move really happen? Why would Tampa Bay let him go? And, more importantly, should the Raiders actually pull the trigger? But before we dive into this major development, if you bleed silver and black, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss breaking news like this. Let's jump into it. So here's the situation. NFL analysts have floated a bold idea. The Raiders making a move for Jamel Dean, Tampa Bay's top cornerback. Now let's be real. This isn't a rumor you hear every day. But when someone like Dean is showing up in off-season trade talks, you can't ignore it, especially with how badly the Raiders need help in the secondary. Why is his name even out there? Well, Tampa Bay has been linked to multiple trade and cut rumors all off-season. Dean's hefty contract, it's a big reason. If the Bucs decide to move on, they save nearly $13 million. That kind of cap relief is tempting. Now, are the Raiders the perfect landing spot? Think about it. Vegas still needs a reliable corner to lock down the outside. Dean brings experience, size, and playoff toughness. If Tampa trades him, the Raiders should at least be picking up the phone. Look, it's not guaranteed. It's not confirmed. But it is the kind of move a smart front office watches closely. And if this new regime in Vegas is serious about building a contender, this is the kind of deal that changes everything. Why Tampa might let Jamel Dean walk. Let's dig into why Jamel Dean might actually be on the move, and why the Raiders could be in the perfect spot to take advantage. Dean isn't just some throwaway player. He's a Super Bowl champion, a 6-year veteran, and not too long ago, the Bucs handed him a big money extension. But in the NFL, business moves fast. And with a $15 million cap hit coming in 2025, Tampa Bay might be ready to clear the books. Now, usually, a team only moves off a player like this when there's a coaching change. But that's not the case here. The Bucs' leadership is staying the same. So, what gives? Here's what's really happening. Tampa is looking toward the future. They drafted Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, a physical, ball-hawking corner many thought would go in the top 40 picks. He slipped due to medical flags, but his talent, undeniable. And then there's Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. Undersized, sure, but he plays way bigger than he looks. He was a dog on the outside in college and has the kind of chip-on-his-shoulder energy coaches love. So, what does this mean? Tampa Bay suddenly has 2 young, hungry corners in the room. They've got depth, and when you've got promising rookies, a high-priced veteran becomes expendable, especially when his release or trade opens the door to millions in savings. If you're the Bucs, it's a tough call, but if you're the Raiders, this is where opportunity knocks. Here, the Spy Tech and Brady connection. Now here's where things start to get really interesting, because there's more to this rumor than just salary cap numbers and draft picks. One name you need to know is John Spytek, the Raiders' new general manager. Before joining Vegas, he spent years inside Tampa Bay's front office, and guess who he helped draft back in 2019? That's right, Jamel Dean. Spytek was there from the moment Dean entered the league, and he watched him grow into a starter on a Super Bowl-winning defense. That kind of first-hand trust? It means something. And then there's the Tom Brady factor. Dean spent 3 seasons as Brady's teammate in Tampa. They weren't just sharing a locker room, they were winning games at the highest level. You think Brady, now part of the Raiders ownership group, doesn't still have a voice in the room? Think again. So put it all together. Spytek helped draft him. Brady won with him. Both are now tied to the Raiders. That kind of background doesn't guarantee a trade, but it opens the door wide enough to start asking real questions. Could Dean be the next piece in the Raiders' rebuild? If he's fully healthy, there's a strong argument he'd walk in as the best corner on the roster. Period. Sure, there's talent already here, especially if Jacorian Bennett makes that second-year leap. But let's not forget, Bennett's still developing. Dean brings polished NFL experience and playoff toughness the Raiders could use right now. Bottom line, this isn't just a fantasy trade. The dots do connect. And if Vegas wants a reliable veteran who already has ties to the key decision-makers, Jamel Dean checks every box. Let's be honest, Jamel Dean comes with some baggage. In 6 seasons, he's never played a full year. The most he's managed is 15 games. In total, he's missed 18 games due to injuries. For a team like the Raiders, that's a real concern. Availability matters, especially in a defense that's trying to build consistency. And when you look at his last 2 years in Tampa, they've been the most underwhelming of his career. In 2023, Dean recorded just 1 interception and 7 pass breakups. His coverage grade dropped. Quarterbacks posted a 91.2 passer rating when throwing his way, the second highest of his career. Not terrible, but definitely not elite. So why even consider him? Because when he's healthy, Dean still shows flashes of being a lockdown corner. He's tall, rangy, and knows how to stick with receivers. He's not a gambler, he's a technician, the kind of player who forces quarterbacks to think twice before testing him. But here's the part that really makes him attractive to the Raiders: his contract. Dean has 2 years left on his deal. But get this, there's 0 guaranteed money left. That means Tampa Bay can walk away clean. And the Raiders, they get all the upside with minimal risk. Vegas would pay Dean $12.5 million this year and $15.8 million next year. But if he underperforms, they can cut him after 1 season with no financial penalty. It's basically a 1-year audition for a corner who, at his best, can lead your secondary. If he shines, you keep him. If not, you move on. Bottom line, Dean's health is the biggest question. But with no guaranteed money, the reward might just outweigh the risk, especially for a Raiders defense hungry for reliable veterans. So what would it actually take for the Raiders to land Jamel Dean? Well, let's explore some realistic trade ideas, starting with one that's pretty straightforward. Based on Dean's contract and recent performance, his market value isn't sky-high right now. That's why a day 3 draft pick, maybe a 5th or 6th rounder, could be enough to get a deal done. It's not flashy, but for a veteran corner with playoff experience, that's incredible value if he bounces back. But trades aren't just about value. They're about need. So we have to ask, what does Tampa Bay actually want in return? After checking in with people close to the situation and reviewing the Bucs roster, one thing stands out. They're thin at linebacker, especially on the inside. That's where things get interesting for Vegas. The Raiders have built up some depth at the position. Not stars, but solid rotational pieces who could appeal to a team like Tampa. If the Bucs are looking for help stopping the run or adding special teams versatility, the Raiders could absolutely build a deal around that. It all comes down to how aggressive Vegas wants to be. They could toss in a late-round pick. They could include a young linebacker looking for a bigger role. Or they could combine both to sweeten the pot. Either way, this isn't just rumor smoke. There's a real path to a trade here, and both teams have reasons to make it work. All right, let's get real. Here's the offer I'd float if I were the Raiders. A 6th-round pick plus linebacker Tommy Eichenberg in exchange for Jamel Dean. It's a fair deal. Low risk, and you're giving Tampa Bay a young defender at a position they actually need. But here's the twist. If you're asking me personally if I'd pull the trigger on this trade right now, I wouldn't. Not because Dean isn't talented. In fact, I do believe he'd instantly be the best corner on the Raiders roster. But when I look at his injury history and his recent decline, I pause. This isn't Madden. In the real NFL, durability matters just as much as skill. And when I scan the free agent market, there are other names that catch my eye. Take Stephon Gilmore, for example. He's older, sure, but still reliable, still physical, and more likely to stay healthy over a 17-game stretch. Same goes for Rasul Douglas. Maybe not as flashy as Dean, but consistent and tough. Or what about Mike Hilton? Or even using that cap space on a true leader like Justin Simmons or Julian Blackmon. Guys who can stabilize the back end without costing you a draft pick. That's the key difference here. If I can get a solid vet without giving up assets, I'm taking that route first. So where does that leave us? If Vegas does trade for Dean, it's not a bad move. He's got upside. He fills a need, and he knows the people in power. But if it were up to me, today, I'd wait. I'd explore every free agent option first before giving up picks for a player who hasn't played a full season yet. The door's open, but it doesn't need to be rushed through.